Good evening. My name is Felix Appelbe, the founder of Ocean Ambassadors, your host tonight. This is the second of a 3-lecture journey series, exploring deeper into listening. We will listen not only to our contemporaries, but also to those with whom some of us may not often or ever rub shoulders. By way of illustration, before tonight, I composed a circular story. A story in which whales, insects, animals, and spiders actually taught Homo sapiens to become even wiser. That story needed a bit of embellishment, and a very kind friend wrote it up into a fairy story, a fairy tale. That fairy tale has already been much enjoyed by 8-year-olds at the Unicorn School in Abingdon. The reason is that these children, with their incredibly free and imaginative ideas, were able then to speak to and ask questions directly of top scientists and academics. And a wonderful thing happened. There was a wonderful meeting of minds that took place both ways. It is my hope that those children and everyone who hears resonance in the story tonight, and like me, believes in fairy stories, will absorb and enhance the wider opportunities and carry these messages forward in their makeup, thus enabling them to help nature flourish, and indeed nature to heal some of the wounds that we have all made. Tonight, however, I said you'd rub shoulders with people you may not normally meet. And these are the real inspirators of the story and the fairy tale. You may ask who they are. They are the whales, the insects, the animals, the spiders, and more. Oh, and bees, by the way. You wait and see. Like the children at the Unicorn School, these wonderful creatures have a lot to teach us, a lot of messages from which we could learn even more. I've been thinking about this, and with our world, our human world, nudging very, very slowly towards greater belief in the animal kingdom and all that it has to offer, I'm going to boldly suggest that tonight, and I'd like it recorded, that perhaps this talk, in which you and I, or all of us are involved, could be the inauguration of a new epoch, namely Animale Porcine. So sit back and be ready for some surprises. And I would like to add one more thing that I did not rehearse at all. And that is that I recorded this yesterday, but since then, the animals outside in my farm have spoken to me, and they said, Felix, you should record this outside in nature, behind the burning bush. So I hope all of us will learn and enjoy tonight very much indeed.
Hello there, my name's Nick Boyd. I'm out on a misty Saturday morning listening to birds. You can hear some greenfinches buzzing in that direction. There's a song thrush. Oh, there it is, doing some repeating over there. Spring is just beginning. It's on the edge and I've been listening to birds. I did a workshop with the Unicorn School online where we talked about nature sounds, Well, first of all, we talked about how birds make so much more noise than other animals, which is interesting. We discussed a little bit about why that might be the case. I'm really grateful as well because people showed me pictures of birds they'd seen. They shared videos of amazing displays of bowerbirds in Australia, and I had a great time. Thank you so much, Unicorn School.
Hi, my name is Amelia and this is Pumpernicles. I am very, very dyslexic and dyspraxic calcula. I go to a school in Abingdon called the Unicorn School. After the day, sometimes we have a special treat where loads and loads of clever scientists, most of them from Oaklow, come, and they come and they talk about how to communicate with animals. I may be dyslexic, but I can definitely communicate with animals, as I can see I'm communicating with this rabbit at the moment. And so we go and we listen to bird songs, and we do animal songs as well. So a yellow hammer, which is a type of bird, might say, "A little bit of bread but no cheese." Or that's what it could say. It could be going. A blue tit would say, "Teacher, teacher," because it goes. Ba, 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 ba. So lately we've been studying the bee cello as well. It's a type of cello which has loads and loads of bees in, and when you play a certain song like Bach or something like that, or the Brahms or something, the bees would just do a waggle dance or any dance that would just start dancing, and that's the bee's home. And so there's loads and loads of bee dances, and I really, really love watching it. It inspires me to study animals when I grow up, and I want to be a zookeeper when I grow up actually, or study animals. And I'm training on Pumpernickel to be a zookeeper, and I think she really is enjoying it, hopefully.
The fact that they are emotionally invested in these things. Once you know that an animal has been there, once you know that a bird has been in your garden and it goes, why on earth wouldn't you get upset? It's just the same as when a person dies. You know, if it's a person you knew and a person that you're emotionally invested in, of course you care more than when it's some stranger with a name on the news. I think it's just the same. If you're hearing that animals are going extinct, but you don't know what they are, you can shrug and say that's sad. But that's partly for me why I almost think of teaching children about nature and teaching children about what wildlife we have and what it looks like, what it sounds like, and also how to find it in the real world. For me, that's where there is a kind of environmental activism in that, because it's only through that the caring really happens. And I do worry that as adults, if we start thinking about it at that stage and don't channel that inner child and that inner child's response to when they stopped hearing that bird singing outside, or when that bird stopped visiting the garden, we're never going to care enough, and we're never going to be personally invested enough until it's far too late.
The way we become focused and concentrated on our professional activity and have an adult life in society, somehow it's encouraging us to become blinkered. And it's fantastic to have a gap in my day. It was an hour and a half where I was suddenly linked with these children in this primary school. And suddenly you completely change your routine. You completely change the focus of what you think you should spend your day at. And listening to these questions is projecting you into their universe, their life, where they are much, much more open to interesting questions and to whatever springs to their mind. They just express it without any inhibition. Us adults, we have a completely different attitude, and to a large extent, we become blinkered. We become much more narrow-focused than they are. So that was another thing I certainly took away from the session. It has opened up my spirit, and it's a very, very enriching experience for me, an adult professional scientist being there. It's wonderful to have such an opening of my mind.
Wow, it was really inspiring for me. And actually, it wasn't just like really intelligent questions. They were like some prescient questions. This girl, I can't remember her name though, because there were just so many questions. And her comment was something along the lines of, you know, all our ideas are from animals. We made tree houses from monkeys, and we fly because of birds. So why do we think we're special? And I was stunned, because really, if you look at sort of the sort of what sparked in the last few decades this interest in human animal studies is really we're exhausted by human exceptionalism. And I actually wanted to say on the Zoom, I was going to say, actually, you know, that's really brilliant, because there's this Italian guy who's a vet, and he's also a philosopher, and he studies philosophical ethology. And he has written a book now in his, I think, close to mid-50s about that very thing, that all our ideas, even to understand the human, actually comes from animals, that we wouldn't understand what humans are if we didn't know what humans can't do versus animals. So she was actually really basically just articulating a book summary of something that's very recent and, you know, very in the vein of what we're all studying in a way. And I thought that was really, I mean, I was quite blown away by that. Much of the scientific world, I think, is hesitant to use too emotive language or anthropomorphize things, and that's a whole other discussion. But there's sort of awareness now that animals have their own subjectivities, that they have their own life worlds and such, and so the acceptance is growing. But what I love is that, you know, you don't have to get into that big discussion with children. They kind of like, I totally get it because I feel it and experience it. I was really struck by that. And I love the smaller questions too, like why does my dog always stare at me? And, you know, just really beautiful questions that I think as adults, we really, really labor to even find the validity to ask.
I recall in particular a question about why does my dog stare into my eyes? I think it was Aubrey, I'm not sure, but I think the question came from Aubrey. And I decided to volunteer and take the question, even though I had never thought about it, because I found it very interesting. And at the moment I replied, I was a little bit taken aback by the question because I had not thought about it. And one thing I am pleased with is that I managed to encourage little Aubrey to keep going with such investigation, because I thought the question was beautiful, and at least I am glad that I managed to convey to Aubrey that her question was beautiful, that I had found it beautiful, and even though I did not know the answer to it, at least I encouraged her to keep exploring such questions. But much later on, I think the next day, I made a link between her question and the work of Aline, the French lady who works with whales. And one thing that marked me in the morning session, as well as from the videos, is this very infinite emotion Aline experienced when she played recordings of human singing to the whales. And I heard it myself on the video. And it is really an exceptionally emotional moment. And she kept phrasing it again in the morning session in person. And so the next day of the event, it struck me that perhaps what's happening with Aline and Aubrey is perhaps not that dissimilar, in that we all have two lives. We have a material life, physical material with atoms and molecules, and we eat and we go to the toilet and we do things to be alive that are physical. And that's what I would like to call our physical life. But we also have an inner life made of our imagination, made of our thoughts. And that inner life is extremely rich in happiness and misery. And that inner life is only witnessed by ourselves. Me, in my brain, I am the only person who knows how I feel, who knows what I perceive, the quality of it, and so on and so forth, and you will never reach my inner life. However, when Aline plays the human singing and you hear the whale responding to the singing, in my opinion, there is an undeniable bridge that is made between the inner life of the whale and that of Aline and that of mine. So in my opinion, it is a moment in time, very short glimpse in time, where I can't help myself feeling that my inner life is actually linked with that of the whale. And the whale has got an inner life, and she links it with mine and that of Aline. And perhaps this is what's happening with Aubrey when she stares in the eyes of her dog. Perhaps it's a very special moment where you do nothing, only stare in the eyes of your dog. And perhaps it is a similar event where Aubrey is actually linking with the inner life of her dog, and the dog is linking with the inner life of Aubrey. And this is, if I am right, and if that is the case, what a special moment that is, because otherwise we're very much isolated in our minds and our imagination.
Where we need to learn from children is that an understanding and appreciation of the science of the natural world doesn't have to be divorced from an emotional investment. And there is nothing wrong with calling the animals in your garden your friends, or saying that you love them, or saying that you love hearing them. It can absolutely be true, and there's nothing less scientific about it. We're part of this world too. And if we fall in love with the sounds we hear coming from other animals, that's when we're going to act early enough to make sure they stay okay and make sure everything stays okay. So there absolutely is something to be learned from children there.
When the unicorns met the animals. We study insects in books and we watch the bees dance. We sing to the spiders, we write like the birds. We play music to whales and record what they sing. And the unicorn said, "How can you talk to elephants if they have a different way of speaking? They use movement like dancing, and they hang out with us, and we move and we touch, and it feels like we talk." And the unicorn said, "If puppies grow up with humans, why can't dogs talk to us? We know humans and dogs just don't have the same voice, but some whales can mimic the sound of your words, like this. And the unicorn said, "Can elephants remember for the whole of their life?" What a beautiful question, and in fact, it's true. They remember the water and where they feel safe. And they pass on their knowledge to young elephants too. And the unicorn said, "How do elephants talk to their children?" They trumpet and stamp to make the ground shake. They feel the vibrations through the soles of their feet. The other is secret. And the unicorn said, "What is the secret way elephants communicate with one another?" Sometimes an elephant will change how he smells, and that's how he says, "Hey everyone, I'm ready to explore on my own." And the unicorn said, "How do bugs communicate with one another?" Bug is a word for a great many creatures, all different, but most don't have ears, so, like elephants, they feel sound as vibration, often with their legs. And the unicorn said, "What dances do the bees do?" If food is nearby, she'll do the round dance. If food is more distant, she'll dance like an 8, up and loop back. Do you know charades? Can you guess what I'm doing? And the unicorn said, "Yes, you're pretending to play the violin." That's right, and the bee patterns work just like a charade. One bee shows the others, "Watch me, I'm flying this way." And the unicorn said, When the birds sing, do they just tweet to each other, or are they really singing? If you listen to birdsong, you'll hear different sounds, like a rattle, a warble, a whistle, and pause. And you'll hear repetitions, birds taking their turns. And the unicorn said, "How can a dog still walk if it only has 3 legs?" Just like bees who've lost a leg or a wing, a dog with 3 legs will learn and adapt, just like us, as we learn every day at school and at work. And the unicorn said, "In a graveyard, a robin might sit on a grave, like a friend, is that right?" Humans are great at imagining things, like robins as the spirit of someone they love, and birds have moved poets for thousands of years. And the unicorn said, "If you could talk to an elephant, what would you say to her?" "Sorry, because some humans don't treat elephants well. And how can we help you share spaces with farmers? And how can we all get on well and be friends?" And the unicorn said, "How can an elephant tell the time?" Elephants watch clocks in nature, like the sun in the sky, like the season for rain, for the best fruits to grow. And we can find out their age by checking their teeth. And the unicorn said, "If spiders have 8 eyes, why do they have poor eyesight?" Spiders can see movement like a quick, swooping bird, but for hunting, they rely on webby vibrations, so they don't need sharp vision. And the unicorn said, "When an elephant dies, we've heard they have a funeral with flowers. Is that true?" "That's beautiful. We don't have evidence of flowers or a funeral, but elephants spend time with the bodies of their loved ones who have died." And the unicorn said, "If there were no animals, we would be alone,